Today's story is about Dean Winchester. Dean is a boy from a small town in southern Oregon who recently got a job as a night shift technician at Chiptel. Due to the nature of his job, Dean wanted to live close to the factory site. You know, you always have to be on your toes when you're a technician at Chiptel. You might be called on site anytime, especially at night. So Dean decides to get the apartment at 13A Century Lane, Williamsville, Oregon. While walking from the leasing office, Dean thinks to himself about this apartment. It's cheap, it's close to the site, looks decent as well. What if the apartment has thin walls? I can manage that. In the first week of his job, Dean goes to his night shift at the site. So he works in the factory all night and then comes back to his apartment in the morning. 5 days go by really quickly. Everything looked like a dream to him. And why not? Dean got this job after a lot of efforts. So he was really enjoying his time there. On Friday night, since it was his night off, Dean decided to cool off a little bit. He goes to a bar and comes back to his apartment with a lady friend. Just to have a good time. While engaging in his shenanigans, Dean hears a loud stomping noise from the top. The walls are indeed really thin, he thinks to himself. His neighbor might be getting bothered by what Dean is doing right now. He thinks about ignoring it for now and just carries on. The next night, when Dean was watching a movie on his television, he again heard the same stomping noise. This time, he got a little bit bothered. So he thought, maybe I'll go talk to my neighbor tomorrow about it. In the morning, Dean goes up to that apartment, knocks the door, but nobody comes out. He waits there for some time, knocks again, but there was no one. So he decides to let this one go, comes back to his apartment, and then go on with his days. Monday, Dean goes back to his regular work schedule, going to the factory site in the evening and coming back in the morning. He kinds of forget about all this weekend thing, the stomping noise, this thing with his neighbor. 5 days pass by. Friday rolls again. Unfortunately, Dean comes back empty-handed from bar tonight. Although he was really curious to see if his neighbor bothers him again or not. He puts the TV on and waits for the stomping noise to happen. And it happens. The loud stomp happens again. This time, Dean got really angry. He goes up through the stairs and starts banging on the apartment door loudly. He was so angry that he was just waiting to curse his neighbor. But as soon as the door opens, his whole temper just melts away. There was a beautiful girl standing behind the door. And as she opened the door, Dean's eyes just stood still. And he kept looking at that girl. She apologized to him about all the sound. She said she didn't realize the walls were so thin. Sheepishly, Dean says sorry himself and says, sorry to bother you at this time of the night. And now he goes back to his apartment, happy, smirking to himself as he might have initiated a long-term relationship. The next night, while watching TV, Dean hears the loud stomping noise again. This time he goes up thinking that he might strike up another conversation with this beautiful neighbor, but nobody opened the door this time. He found this somewhat strange. The girl opened the door yesterday. What's happening now? After some time, disappointed, he goes back to his apartment and goes to sleep. Next night, Sunday, something crazy happens. Dean was sleeping because the next day was regular work day and he had to get some sleep. But without any provocation, without making any sound, he hears that loud stomping noise again. He wakes up from his sleep. Now this time around, he just flips, goes up the stairs, again bangs the door, nobody comes out. He bangs again, nobody comes out. In anger, he shouts through the door, "I'm going to talk to the property manager and tell her all about this. And next day, either you leave or I leave." That's what he said. The next day, Monday morning, before going to his work, Dean decides to pay the property manager a visit. While talking to her, he talks about how almost every weekend of his was ruined because he was hearing all these stomping noises from the apartment upstairs. The property manager at first shrugs him off, says, "It's ridiculous. There cannot be any sound like that. Nobody lives in that apartment." Dean replies, "What do you mean nobody lives in that apartment? I met a girl there last week." The property manager retorted, "What girl? Nobody lives there. The apartment is empty." "You're lying. You want to break the lease and get out without paying, right? That's why you're making up all these random stories." Dean now lashes out. "You think I'm lying? You think I'm lying? I saw that girl. There was a blonde girl with specs. Must be 5'4", 5'5". Looked like a nerd. Do you know who I'm talking about? You must know." As Dean said these words, the property manager froze. Her face kind of stood still while looking at Dean, and she, in shame, put her head down. When she lifts her head again, she tells Dean, or rather, she admits to him that yes, there was a girl. A girl who used to live there 1 year ago. She was a technician, just like Dean, who worked at Chiptel. People were saying all kinds of things about her. Some said because of work pressure. Some said of a broken heart. She took her own life in that same apartment, 13B. Cut.